Today on Cityline, he's a sports legend, a wildly successful pitchman, and a minister working to keep young people occupied and off the streets. Heavyweight champion George Foreman in the studio next. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Cityline. I'm Karen Holmes Ward. Well, most of us know him as a former world champion boxer, but sports legend George Foreman has had many lives since the spotlight first shined on him. Today, a special conversation with George Foreman about his career as a businessman and best-selling product pitchman, his spiritual journey as a minister, and his love of the sport that brought him acclaim. George was born in Texas and was a quote-unquote a mugger by your own admission and a brawler, according to his own accounts. By the age of 15, he says that joining President Lyndon Johnson's Job Corps saved his life. He became an Olympic boxing champ before he became one of the most decorated heavyweight boxers in history, both in the 1970s and then in 1994. Welcome, Mr. George Foreman.
Thank you so much.
How are you today?
It's wonderful to hear you say those things. You make them sound nice.
Well, it wasn't so nice for you in the beginning, growing up in Texas.
Had a rough start. You know, you're raised by one parent, the mom, and she'd go to work. She scared me. I'm going to kill you if you get killed out there before I get home. So I was more afraid of my mother's killing than the killing outside. It helped me for a long time. And then I outgrew that and got into a lot of trouble.
Well, I think we've all heard that. Mom's going to kill us if you get in trouble. But you really did get in a lot of trouble when you were a kid.
I really did. It was hard on you. And that's why I said it's good to have a father's influence. That's what I've tried to be for my children, because without it, kids can have a rough time.
You were a big guy even as a child? Yeah,
I remember they said, the first thing my mother said when she saw me, he big. So from day one, I've been a big one.
But were you a tough kid growing up in the neighborhood? Were you someone that we might call a bully?
Yeah, I started off with a chip on my shoulder, of course, being teased. They would agitate me. Even the family would agitate me. And so it put a chip on my shoulder earlier. Mm-hmm. And finally, I got in with the wrong gang, and they started to praise me, started getting into trouble, juvenile delinquent, dropped out of high school, did all the things wrong in life all the things you shouldn't do.
What was the moment that helped you escape from that life?
Well, my mom had always said, look, no one in my family has ever gone to prison or gone to jail. She was so proud of that. And she'd always boasted that my family father had about 8 kids. No one had ever gone to jail. So one night when I was mugging some guys, the police got behind me, and I had 2 other guys with me, but I was the slower. They crowded me. I went in the house to hide from the police, crawled under, and I thought the dogs were going to sniff me out. And I remember from movies that the dogs can smell through water. And I saw a sewage pipe busted, covered myself from head to toe so the dogs couldn't smell me. And there I was thinking, you are a thief. And it never occurred to me until then. And my mother's voice said, no one in the family. And I said, if I get from under this house, I'll never steal anything again.
It was a low moment for you.
It was a low moment because I was everything my mom never wanted of me. I said, so I crawled from the house, dropped out of school, and I heard a commercial. The great football player and actor Jimmy Brown said, join the Job Corps.
I'm from Cleveland, Ohio, so I know about Jimmy Brown.
He said, if you're looking for a second chance to get an education, I joined the Job Corps and went to Grants Pass, Oregon, and then things changed for me. Basic education, general education diploma, and a chance to learn to box.
How old were you when you
16 years old. 16 years old. It was for kids who were between 16 and 21, looking for a second chance, and I got a second chance. Lyndon Johnson had declared war on poverty back in the 60s, and I was Mr. Poverty.
And while you were in the Job Corps, is that where you discovered that you enjoyed boxing?
And I'd never been introduced that much to boxing, only street fighting. So the kids told me one day, they were listening to a fight. It was Cassius Clay then fighting Floyd Patterson. They said, you're a bully. Why don't you become a boxer? I said, I'll show you. I was going to go out, try boxing so I could go back to Houston and be the best street fighter in the world. But a coach, Doc Broders, in the job course said, look, if you stop fighting on the streets, George, you can become an Olympic gold medalist. I took him up on it. And in 1968, I won a gold medal.
Wow. Olympic gold, huh?
And I never intended to box professionally. I just wanted that gold medal and learn to fight to be a street fighter. But one thing led to another. Next thing you know, #1 contender in the world.
Now, back up a bit. Let's talk about this gold medal. When you won that gold medal, what did your family think? How did your mother feel about the fact that you had turned your whole situation around?
My mother never wanted me in fights because I was always getting in trouble. She worried about my temper. I don't want you in that ring. You may lose your temper. So she never liked boxing. She never watched me. She never did. But finally she knew I was doing it I appeared on television. She said, there's my boy.
Oh.
She didn't watch. And she'd go out of the room and go into the closet until it was over and come out back and applaud it. But she never wanted it to happen. But she was just happy I didn't get into trouble and go to jail.
So mom wasn't as supportive about professional boxing. How about the rest of the family?
All the family, they were so proud. Here's the little boy they'd grown up with, and they'd all tease me and clothe me and send me to school. There was an Olympic gold medalist. They were so proud. Still proud.
Still proud, of course. Now, after the Olympic gold, you decided to go professional boxing as opposed to another career. What went into that decision on your part?
Because I was working as a counselor, really assistant counselor at a Job Corps program. I had to go to college, of course. I was registered and get ready to get my college education. Then they said, look, you can make millions becoming a boxer after this gold medal. I said, maybe millions? I think I'll try it. So I went out for $1 million. I had my first professional boxing match, and things just took off. Within 3 years, I was #1 contender in the world.
What would you have done had you not turned professional?
I really wanted to work with young people because I'd had a struggle in life, and I wanted to teach other kids with chips on their shoulders, say, you can do something with your life. You don't have to do the things that are expected of you. You can change. And that's what I really wanted to do before I even went back into boxing. That gold medal was going to be my tool to speak to people.
Your tool and your ticket.
My ticket to talk.
Well, you're going to stay with us for the entire half hour. We want to talk about those years as a professional boxer.
Thank you.
Okay, more with George Foreman when we come back.